points. 3 offensive points on the board. Testament to the BC Lions defense. Over the last 19 quarters, Dwayne, no opponent has scored more than 7 points in any quarter.
They have been dominant. A group that has really had a lot to do with the turnaround, as you see Mike Benavides doing.
How do you describe that, Dwayne?
Can you? I can.
Okay, there you go.
The combination of Mike Benavides, defensive assistant Baron Miles.
Signals seem to be working. There's Coke. Shakes one. They carry Coke. Big gainer into BC territory.
And after the catch, you saw one of the few times against the Saskatchewan Roughriders that Ryan Phillips has guessed wrong. He tried to anticipate what Kerry Coke was going to do. And there's a challenge flag down on the BC sideline as we take a look at this one.
And it should be.
That ball hits the ground. You can see it touch the ground.
The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass.
Incomplete. It won't even be challenged.
Good job by the officiating crew to get that straightened away quickly. One of the officials clearly had a better view of it and brought that to the attention of referee Al Bradbury.
So again, the Riders will have to punt this away. An offense that has fallen absolutely dormant here. Keep in mind, last week against the Toronto Argonauts, they didn't exactly light it up until the fourth quarter when they came back with 16 fourth quarter points. Struggling here today against a voracious defense. Sunshine. Brown gets a couple blocks. Tim Brown, penalty flag there near the 51-yard line. We'll tell you about it when we come back to Mosaic Stadium in Regina. The Lions roaring.
Perhaps the Argos will be inspired by the presence of the '91 Grey Cup champions. Big reunion happening there today.
Including Schultze.
Schultze and Maddie's calling the game.
The Rocket in town. Ismail, 91 Grey Cup team. What a time that was. Andrew Harris on the ground. How exciting it was in Toronto at that time when Bruce McNall and John Candy and Wayne Gretzky owned that football team, and they went out and signed the Rocket.
An impressive collection of talent. In the pre-salary cap days.
The pre-salary cap days, indeed. 7.5 to go, third quarter. Roughriders defense has been on the field a lot here today. Clustered formation for Lule in the shotgun from his 35. He throws it. One a little hard and right off the beak of Sean Gore.
Yeah, that's not exactly what we call a touch pass.
No.
Sean Gore takes the bullet about 5 yards away.
Good thing he put his hands there. That ball might have stuck in his grill. So now McCallum launched this from near his 25-yard line. One of the all-time leading punters per average in CFL history. Oldest player in the Canadian Football League. Preston Jackson. Daylight here. Only Paul McCallum. Jackson is stopped by McCallum, who gets right in his face. A kicker makes the tackle. A touchdown saving tackle. How old is Paul McCallum again? 41 years young. There is a penalty flag. It will come back anyway. A play that's coming back anyways, but still worthy of a look thanks to the hip check by Paul McCallum.
A brilliant hip check to upend the return man.
And then some chirping afterwards.
But here's what Paul McCallum had to say to Tristan Jackson.
He's going to pass me before the game.
He was going to tackle him before the game. And the legend of Paul McCallum lives on. Brandon West. You know, and a guy like Chris Milo and all the young kickers, Rene Paredes, you go through the league, there's so many young kickers, can look at a Paul McCallum and show that, you know, pay your dues. Get your time to shine. I mean, the guy's been around seemingly forever in the Canadian Football League. He's had his share of adversity, particularly in this town, after missing that chip shot in the West Final. Darian Durant just threw that out of bounds. And now the Boo Birds come out. But remember when McCallum missed back in '04, and you know, his house got vandalized and some hooligans threw manure on his front lawn. He eventually went to BC, won a Grey Cup. Since that time, he's done nothing but take and make field goals.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you that in this game, you never really master it. You always keep learning. As long as you keep learning and keep working, you're going to get better. And that has been the story of Paul McCallum's career. Like fine wine, he gets better with age.
Good kick by young Chris Milo. Iannuzzi way back. And there's a no yards call. And that's at the 22-yard line. But remember, McCallum was a star here in Saskatchewan. And then, of course, back in the West Final, overtime in '04, a chance to go to the Grey Cup, and that miss. And Paul McCallum showed that, you know, you can miss a field goal and stuff can happen. And it would crush some spirits of some players. It never crushed him.
Well, no, it didn't. And I mean, people say you're only as good as your last kick, but the nature of a professional athlete, and particularly for those somewhat isolated positions like kickers and quarterbacks, as much as you've got to have a long memory and learn from things that go wrong, you've also got to have a short memory, in the sense that you've got to be able to put some bad things out of your mind. And Paul McCallum has done that. He's won the mental battle, and that has a lot to do with his strength and success in this game.
Chris Milo, that 75-yard punt and the no yards call was a 15-yard penalty, and rightfully so. I'm glad they call that way.
The intentional no yards, no effort to try and move on a bouncing ball to avoid, to get out of that 5-yard radius.
So the Lions scrimmage from their 36. Little reverse here to Arland Bruce, his second touch. The first touch he had was a 100-yard touchdown earlier. But you know, back to McCallum, he also has his name etched in the record books. He could get the streak maybe even today or next week in the new BC place. Hate to jinx him, but you know what? I never believed in that stuff anyways when you talk about it. But he also has the longest field goal in CFL history, 62 yards, which actually happened here at Taylor Field at the time, back in 2001. The guy's become a fixture in the legends of the game, really. Geroy Simon, speaking of legends, moves closer to Milt Stiegel, who's in our studio, and continues that game streak we talked about, which is 154 and counting. The record's 216, set by former Rough Rider Don Narcisse.
Terrific job running that route. The stem to the outside to turn the hips of the defensive back. Chris McKenzie is what gets Geroy Simon open inside. I'm sure Milt is telling everyone in the studio about how he taught Geroy that move.
As much as Geroy Simon is going to break Milt Stiegel's record, Sean Moore hauling it in. No one is really talking about another record that is out there that is more than attainable for Geroy Simon, which is the all-time receptions record. By next season, he could surpass Ben Cahoon.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, but I mean, Geroy Simon, the career that he's had, so much focus, as you said, has been on that yardage record because it's the one on the more immediate radar. But you think about the receivers who have broken that receptions record over the last several years, and a lot of guys who were in the league at the same time.
Andrew Harris, right side. Because G-Roy, and I even chatted with him before the game, I said, you know, you love that yardage record, right? What about the reception record? So what do you mean? He didn't even realize how close he was to Ben Cahoon.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you look at G-Roy Simon creeping up on that one. Ben Cahoon, the guy who holds the record now. Prior to that, Terry Vaughn, Darren Flutie before that, Alan Pitts before that. I mean, all of these guys were kicking around the league at the same time. You really realize how we have been through and continue to be in the sort of the golden age of receivers in this Canadian Football League.
Simon has 907 catches. The record is 1,017. Open man again. Sean Gore, it's been his drive so far inside the red zone, and the BC Lions are putting on a clinic here.
Well, they sure are, and you see how these guys are on the same page. Once Travis Lule is scrambling around, the receivers understand where they need to be to help out their quarterback when he's on the move, when the play breaks down. In that situation, Sean Gore mirroring his quarterback across the field. He came wide open, but made sure he got in a position where he could help out his quarterback and did bail him out and move the chains.
In the shadows, Lule, lots of time, and it's a touchdown. G-Roy Simon, 95th of his career. And G-Roy Simon does it again.
Well, G-Roy Simon makes the difficult things look easy. Here again, they use the motion to create a little bit of confusion for the DBs. You see the crossing route, but on pretty good coverage from Eddie Russ. G-Roy Simon snatches it down.
95 in his career, 5 on the season. The all-time record, by the way, held by Milt. That one might not be so touchable, 144. Oh, and Paul McCallum off the post and through. And the route continues here. G-Roy Simon in the end zone again with a familiar pose. It's the end zone again.
Paul McCallum, after nearly missing the last extra point, was right away, before he even came off the field, was stretching out his calves, his Achilles tendons, getting ready for this kickoff. So you wonder if he might have tweaked something on the plant, if his foot slipped a little bit, but we'll certainly keep an eye on that.
Brandon West, helmet down. Tim Cronk with the tackle. Cronk with a touchdown last week. Let's go down to Lee Jones on the sideline.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Confidence extremely high right now on the BC Lions bench. Actually, Aaron Hunt pulled me over and said, make sure you tell the TSN world they are who we thought they were. In fact, they really haven't been engaging with the fans too much, concentrating more on staying hydrated since their bench is on the sunny side in 30-degree temperature. But clearly this game has the Lions confidence sky high, guys.
Kerry Koch, Ryan Phillips in the vicinity.
Well, Aaron Hunt suggesting that the Lions entered this game very confident, believing the Saskatchewan Roughriders were a team that they could beat. And I suspect that some of that discussion might have been about getting on them early.
Riders have had very little momentum here, if any at all. Wes Cates on second down. This will be third down, and at this stage of the game, still a full quarter to play. No turning back now. You've got to go for it. So far down. Cates will turn the ball over again. Another turnover, this time on downs. And it's getting ugly here.
Well, playing the odds, the way this BC Lions defense has performed over the course of the last month or so, you just had a sense how that was going to turn out.
Ken Miller, who came into this game undefeated, taking over from Greg Marshall. 3 straight wins, but reality check here today for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They've got more work to do. Looking more like the Riders who began this season 1-7. Lions are taking it to them. Final play, barring penalty, of the third quarter. Lule the shovel. Tim Brown behind cover. Finally steps out of bounds. 3 quarters complete here in Regina. Could not be any faster for the BC Lions, who want to head home. Looking poised to get to 500. Absolute miracle comeback in the fourth quarter. The BC Lions look like they're going to take their streak to 5 straight wins. I can't believe, Dwayne, that we're standing here after 3 quarters. You look ahead to this game, and we've talked a lot about parity this year in the CFL, and certainly the unpredictability. I think this would have to rank in terms of unpredictability. I don't think a lot of people saw the BC Lions coming in and absolutely throttling the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
No, absolutely not. But this is one that I'm going to put in the file labeled any given Saturday. You never know what's going to happen any week over the course of an 18-game season, where you've got teams where you do have the existence of parity, as you do in the Canadian Football League in 2011. A few times over the course of the year, you're probably going to win a couple big. You're probably also going to get hammered a couple times. What determines your level of success is how you rebound from the times you get hammered.
Well, there's going to be a big rebound, have to be, for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the upcoming week. Travis Lule again. We're playing so far off Akeem Foster, and Lule's just giving and taking what the Saskatchewan Roughrider defense is giving him. You know what, another trend that is very interesting this season? Road teams and their wins. This would be game 46. This would be the 24th time that a road team has won. More than half the time the road teams have won. Is there any rhyme or reason to any of the stuff that's gone on this season?
Life in the Canadian Football League. Unpredictability, as you said, and teams that are so evenly matched, teams that are very well prepared.
And the Lions, after this game, will head home tonight. Practice week for them as they get ready to open up their new digs, which is really their old place, but refurbished, redone. BC Place next week. McCallum again will not get to the coffin corner. Another single point will make it 39.
Taken by number 7 Weston Dressler down in the end zone.
Well, NFL Sunday night continues on TSN. It's the Steelers and the Colts, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific time.
Yeah?
Well, I mean, just to get the first round, put it bang bang for the goal.
I saw it outside. I saw it.
Not a lot of highlights today, if any, for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Dismal day at the office. Durant lobs one up. And as bad as they have been offensively, full credit here to this ball-hawking secondary, this fierce front seven of the BC Lions. 1 of 6 is Darian Durant.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see how much longer Ken Miller goes in this ball game before he waves the symbolic white flag by taking Darian Durant out of this game, because you're looking at a game where I'm not going to say they've lost yet. Again, this is the Canadian Football League, but it would be so much more of a defeat to lose a guy like Darian Durant in a game like this.
They're pretty close to the knockout level. Oh! Dallas Baker. Highlight reel catch. Something to cheer about for the Riders.